We're missing a row. We have a deficit. Hare Krishna. Please let's read this together. Ugrashava, Sutta Goswami, the son of Ro Maharshad, being fully satisfied by the perfect questions of the Brahmanas, thanked them and thus attempted to reply. Srila Sutta Goswami said, "Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto that great sage, Shukadev Goswami, who can enter the hearts of all. When he went away to take up the renounced order of life, sannyas, leaving home without undergoing reformation by the sacred thread or the ceremonies observed by the higher castes, his father Vyasadeva, fearing separation from him, cried out, 'O my son!' Indeed, only the trees, which were absorbed in the same feelings of separation, echoed in response to the bereaved father. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto him, Shuka, the spiritual master of all sages, the son of Vyasadeva, who out of his great compassion for those gross materialists who struggle to cross over the darkest regions of material existence, spoke this most confidential supplement to the cream of Vedic knowledge after having personally assimilated it by experience. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. O sages, I have been justly questioned by you. Your questions are worthy because they relate to Lord Krishna and so are of relevance to the world's welfare. Only questions of this sort are capable of completely satisfying the self. The supreme occupation, dharma, for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. The occupational activities a man performs according to his own position are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message of the personality of Godhead. All occupational engagements are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. They should never be performed for material gain. Furthermore, according to sages, one who is engaged in the ultimate occupational service should never use material gain to cultivate sense gratification. Life's desires should never be directed towards sense gratification. One should desire only a healthy life or self-preservation, since a human being is meant for inquiry about the absolute truth. Nothing else should be the goal of one's works. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. The seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes that absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti. O best among the twice born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging the duties prescribed for one's own occupation according to caste divisions and orders of life is to please the personality of Godhead. Therefore, with one pointed attention, one should hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of the devotees. With sword in hand, intelligent men cut through the binding knots of reactionary work, karma, by remembering the personality of Godhead. Therefore, who will not pay attention to his message? O twice-born sages, serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. A loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of nature's modes of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness, and he becomes completely happy. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. Thus the knot in the heart is pierced, and all misgivings are cut to pieces. The chain of fruitive actions is terminated when one sees the self as master. Certainly, therefore, since time immemorial, all transcendentalists have been rendering devotional service to Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, with great delight, because such devotional service is an enlivening to the self. The transcendental personality of Godhead is indirectly associated with the three modes of material nature, namely passion, goodness, and ignorance. And just for the material world's creation, maintenance, and destruction, he accepts the three qualitative forms of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Of these three, all human beings can derive ultimate benefit from Vishnu, the form of the quality of goodness. Firewood is a transformation of earth, but smoke is better than the raw wood, and fire is still better, for by fire we can derive the benefits of superior knowledge through Vedic sacrifices. Similarly, passion, rajas, is better than ignorance, tamas, but goodness, sattva, is best, because by goodness one can come to realize the absolute truth. Previously, all the great sages rendered service unto the personality of Godhead due to his existence above the three modes of material nature. They worshipped him to become free from material conditions and thus derive the ultimate benefit. Whoever follows such great authorities is also eligible for liberation from the material world. Those who are serious about liberation are certainly non-envious, and they respect all. Yet they reject the horrible and ghastly forms of the demigods and worship only the all-blissful forms of Lord Vishnu and his plenary portions. Those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance worship those in the same category, namely the forefathers, other living beings, and the demigods who are in charge of cosmic activities, for they are urged by desire to be materially benefited with women, wealth, power, and progeny. In the revealed scriptures, the ultimate object of knowledge is Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. The purpose of performing sacrifice is to please him. Yoga is for realizing him. All fruitive activities are ultimately rewarded by him only. He is supreme knowledge, and all severe austerities are performed to know him. Religion, dharma, is rendering loving service unto him. He is the supreme goal of life. In the beginning of the material creation, that absolute personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, in his transcendental position, created the energies of cause and effect by his own internal energy. After creating the material substance, the Lord, Vasudeva, expands himself and enters into it. And although he is within the material modes of nature and appears to be one of the created beings, he is always fully enlightened in his transcendental position. The Lord as Supersoul pervades all things, just as fire permeates wood, and so he appears to be of many varieties, though he is the absolute one without a second. The Supersoul enters into the bodies of the created beings who are influenced by the modes of material nature and causes them to enjoy the effects of these modes by the subtle mind. Thus the Lord of the universes maintains all planets inhabited by demigods, men, and lower animals. Assuming the roles of incarnations, he performs pastimes to reclaim those in the mode of pure goodness. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5. English. Ingareshe. Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. Arjuna said, O Krishna, first of all you ask me to renounce work, and then again you recommend work with devotion. Now will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial? The personality of Godhead replied, the renunciation of work and work and devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work and devotional service is better than renunciation of work. One who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities is known to be always renounced. Such a person, free from all dualities, easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated, O mighty armed Arjuna. Only the ignorant speak of devotional service, karma yoga, as being different from the analytical study of the material world, Sankhya. Those who are actually learned say that he who applies himself well to one of these paths achieves the results of both. One who knows that the position reached by means of analytical study can also be attained by devotional service, and who therefore sees analytical study and devotional service to be on the same level, sees things as they are. Merely renouncing all activities, yet not engaging in the devotional service of the Lord, cannot make one happy. But a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve this without delay. One who works in devotion, who is a pure soul, and who controls his mind and senses is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a man is never entangled. A person in the divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, or opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects, and that he is aloof from them. One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by sinful action, as a lotus leaf is untouched by water. The yogis, abandoning attachment, act only with intelligence and even with the senses, only for the purpose of purification. The steadily devoted soul attains unadulterated peace, because he offers the result of all activities to me. Whereas a person who is not in union with the divine, who is greedy for the fruits of his labor, becomes entangled. When the embodied living being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions, he resides happily in the city of 9 gates, the material body, neither working nor causing work to be done. The embodied spirit, master the city of his body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature. Nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge. When, however, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which nescience is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything, as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. When one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge, and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater, outcast. Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman. A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant, nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the signs of God, is already situated in transcendence. Such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme. An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them. Before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is well situated and is happy in this world. One whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme, and ultimately he attains the Supreme. Those who are beyond the dualities that arise from doubts, whose minds are engaged within, who are always busy working for the welfare of all living beings, and who are free from all sins, achieve liberation in the Supreme. Those who are free from anger and all material desires, who are self-realized, self-disciplined, and constantly endeavoring for perfection, are assured of liberation in the Supreme in the very near future. Shutting out all external sense objects, keeping the eyes and vision concentrated between the two eyebrows, suspending the inward and outward breaths within the nostrils, and thus controlling the mind, senses, and intelligence, the transcendentalist aiming at liberation becomes free from desire, fear, and anger. One who is always in this state is certainly liberated. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary for sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and the well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. And now let's look at the verse and purport from 520, please. Hare. Na prahrishet priyam prapya nodvijet prapya cha priyam stira bhutira samudho brahmavid brahmanistitaha. Na, never. Prahrishet, rejoices. Priyam, the pleasant. Prapya, achieving. Na, does not. Udvijet, become agitated. Prapya, obtaining. Cha, also. Apriyam. So what does prahrishyat mean? Rejoicing. And how about priyam? No looking, you can't look. Prapya. I'm saying, so the prahrishyat priyam prapya is the first line. Again, prapya means? Say what? Okay. To achieve something, okay, so now what is the first line saying, in essence? Use the microphone, though, don't all shout at once, just one person say it. A representative, choose a representative amongst you, like Sudha Goswami.
One who doesn't rejoice after achieving something pleasant.
Yes. Can you give an example of somebody, like something that somebody would consider pleasant, and then they receive it and they don't rejoice, even though it's something good?
Maybe if you got a raise.
Okay, you got a raise, and then, okay, let's just, you're working, and I say, okay, we're giving you a raise. And what do you say?
Okay.
Correct. Okay, no vijet. So there's na and ud vijet together. It becomes nod vijet by Sandhi rules. The a and the u become an o, so that it becomes apparently one word, which is nod vijet. Everyone say. Does not become agitated. Prapya, obtaining. Cha, also. Apriyam, the unpleasant. The unpleasant, yes. So again, cha and apriyam become chapriyam. So also the unpleasant. What does chapriyam mean? Also the unpleasant. So we've talked about the pleasant, right? What is the word for that? Priyam. And what about unpleasant? Apriyam. So priyam and apriyam. These two things come. What's an example? Well, first of all, what does the second line say? Sutta? Sutta Goswami? Who's going to say?
The second line says that also somebody that doesn't get affected also by the unpleasant, that does not become agitated also by the unpleasant.
Yes. So you attain something pleasant and then you don't rejoice, or you achieve something unpleasant and you don't become agitated. So what's an example of something that's unpleasant?
Get fired.
Okay. You're fired.
Okay.
Why is it okay? Okay.
It's okay because you don't get agitated by the unpleasant.
I know you don't become agitated. That's a tautology, but we can look that up. But yes?
Because you are self-intelligent
That
and
is
unbewildered.
Okay, well, we're getting there, yes. You're self-intelligent and bewildered, but give me the essence of why somebody would not be elated when they get something priyam, good, and agitated when they miss something. Give us the philosophy behind it.
Because they know that all of those things are actually external and temporary and not who they are. Their state of mind is not functional of that.
Okay.
They're functionally independent of those things.
Functionally independent. Very good.
They're situated, they
In what way?
they're situated in the self. They know who they are, and that they are part of Krishna. Whatever happens is fine. Just go with the flow.
Go with the flow, eh? Okay, yes. We have a few more.
Yeah, this verse reminds me of a verse in Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, Matruspashasu Kaunteya. Like Krishna says, like happiness, distress, these are non-permanent. Like, they're like seasons.
This is more evidence to the state of mind, but I want to get the philosophy. Why? Why is it that a person feels? Kauta Karnaka has a...
Because it's just a job. I will get another one.
We get another one, okay. Prabhu?
The person doesn't seize these things, they see that they are the material things and they don't get attached to them.
This person, who is a person? When you get a raise, you don't get happy? When you get fired, how do you feel? Fine, right? Do you just say, okay?
It impacts
Is that all right?
materially.
You don't mind? Huh?
It impacts materially, but if you see spiritually, it doesn't matter.
Okay. And we're just, what does it mean to see spiritually? 1, 2.
To know that material senses are just interacting with their objects,
Okay.
or our senses are reacting to the objects that are available.
Is that how you see it? Here, 1, 2.
Because one is self-satisfied with whatever position they're in, and also that they know that this is just temporary and Krishna has got their back. So.
Have you experienced that? You ever been fired? Have you ever attained something pleasant and you didn't rejoice? Because you thought, well, it just came of its own accord, it could go at any time.
Yes.
Yes? Can you think of an example? You think of an example where we're moving on.
So I would just take it whatever Lord desires, for me. I would just go by that.
Yeah?
And like you asked her about getting fired, so I have that experience and also getting a job.
Yeah.
So after getting fired, I realized I became more careful. So I never rejoiced after getting a job or even raises.
Aha. So things are never as good as they seem or as bad as they seem.
Yeah.
Things even out here in the material world. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So next one, stira. Stira buddhi. Self-intelligent. Asamudha. Unbewildered. Brahmavit. One who knows the Supreme perfectly. Brahmani. In the transcendence. Stitaha. So what does stita buddhir asamudho mean? Where's our representative? Somebody say.
One who knows the Supreme perfectly is self-intelligent and unbewildered.
Yes, just the line, stira buddhir asamudho. What's stira buddhi asamudho?
Self-intelligent and unbewildered.
Self-intelligent and unbewildered. What does that mean? Yes?
Somebody don't freaks out when situation
They don't
turns.
freak out. Okay. Give a verse about where Krishna talks about being stira, steady. Yes? 5:10. Okay, go ahead. Give her the mic. Show us 5:10. For 500. Go ahead.
So, Krishna says in this verse that someone who is situated is someone who is not affected by externals is like a lotus. So the lotus, even though...
Yes.
The drop on the...
So show the translation. This translation is an analogy Krishna gives. One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by sinful action, as the lotus leaf is untouched by water. So lotus leaf's in the water, but it doesn't become affected by it, because the water just beads right off. So why is this person doing the duty? Why are they not affected? That's the question, according to this verse. Yes, Jamuna.
When you understand that Krishna is in control and giving you the results of your activities, you can't really see the big picture of what is actually good, what is bad. And so anything that happens, you just have to see their gifts for you to increase your Krishna consciousness.
That's a very commonsensical and helpful explanation. So, yes, if you see that Krishna is in charge of the results, and we can't see the big picture, but Krishna can, and we may get something good or something bad. The bad may turn out to be better than the good in the future. You get the good and they say, oh no, guess what? The IRS are knocking. They want their cut, and a lot more too. Or whatever it is, we don't know how it's going to come out. And here in this verse, Krishna says, Brahman yadaya karmani sangam tyakva karotiya. So sangam tyakva karotiya means that the person gives up connection with the result of the work. It's not attached, saying it's not my results because I'm only working for Krishna. And a good example of this is a bank teller. Bank teller may handle millions of dollars every day, but he or she doesn't think, oh, when somebody comes and makes a withdrawal, doesn't think, oh no, I just lost money. Or when somebody puts some money in, says, here's another $1 million, the bank teller doesn't think, oh, now I'm rich. Because sangam tyakva karotiya, that person isn't attached to the comings and goings of the fruit, because he or she thinks it's not mine. Yes, Rupa Manjari.
So I personally have not experienced this position of being not rejoicing or not. Every time I get fired, I'm sad, and every time I get a job, I'm happy. But I have seen some great Vaishnavas that if somebody comes and gives them like a really big donation that you think a normal person would be super happy about, but they somehow know that that donation is being given in a sense of prestige, even though they're accepting it for Krishna's service, they don't react very much. They're like, oh, okay, thank you, but in a kind of courteous way. But then if somebody else comes and gives them like, just a few rupees, but that person is really like, I really want to give this to you, I really want to give this to Krishna, then they rejoice. So like that's my experience from third person.
So explain the phenomena. Why is it that they're happy? This is
because that second action is not like some pleasant thing in a material sense. It's actually pleasant in a spiritual sense because that person has devotion, and they're very happy that this person has made such a great.
So
what
this
for
is
them
an
is a great
important
endeavor.
point that she's making, because it's not that a transcendentalist is just indifferent to everything. It's not that transcendentalist becomes a dull stone and nothing matters anymore. There are things that matter. But the things that matter for the transcendentalists are the things that please Krishna's senses. And if the transcendentalist notices that somebody is given something and it's meant for Krishna, then he becomes happy. And if he sees an offense or some material motivation, then the transcendentalist is not so impressed or is annoyed by it, by the feeling of somebody offering something for self-aggrandizement. But this is described by Kaviraj Goswami in the Chaitanya Charitamrita as being the comparison of metals. There's iron and there's gold. So they're both metal. But one of them is very valuable and the other one is not so valuable. And in a similar way, one may have some desire. Everyone has some desire. Krishna confirms this in the Gita. But if the desire is for pleasing Krishna's senses, then that's like gold. And if it's the desire is for pleasing one's own senses, this is like iron. So in a similar circumstance, a devotee may become happy because he or she sees that the activity is pleasing to Krishna. Okay? Are you satisfied or not?
I guess I just would say I didn't see them getting annoyed exactly. I never saw them getting annoyed.
Well,
more like just neutral, this neutral, sthira.
The devotees, when Ramachandra Puri came and began criticizing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the devotees became annoyed. When Ballabha came and tried to assert himself as knowing more than Sridhar Swami, then the devotees became annoyed. So the devotees do get annoyed. I mean, I'm not disputing the fact that you didn't see it. I wasn't exactly saying that. I was just saying that there is a way in which devotees feel this sense of repulsion and also attraction, but it's a different kind. It's in a different category. It's not like the materialist who's worried about his or her own senses. It's because the devotee is worried about Krishna's senses. So, for instance, if a devotee becomes disappointed because the book distribution score wasn't big enough, there's two ways that it could be processed. One is because of now I don't get the credit. I wanted to be the top person. And the other one might be because, well, I wanted to please Prabhupada by offering a bigger score, and I know he would have been pleased, and so I'm a little disappointed that we didn't make it. So if it's for myself, then that's a material consideration. for my own sense gratification. It's going to make me look good. And for that, there's some attachment to material concepts, and therefore there's some reaction. But if it's for Krishna, there can be similar, there's a verisimilitude. There's a way, look it up. And did you look up tautology? Tautology. You can't look it up in there. You find a dictionary. Verisimilitude and tautology. Tautology. Okay, so now let's read the purport and the translation. One who perform. Oh, wait a minute. This isn't the verse. We want 520. I mean, it's a verse. A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the science of God, is already situated in transcendence. Purport. Are you all ready to listen with rapt attention? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. I'm not convinced. Yes. The symptoms of the self-realized person are given herein. The first symptom is that he is not illusioned by the false identification of the body with his true self. He knows perfectly well that he is not this body, but is the fragmental portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is therefore not joyful in achieving something, nor does he lament in losing anything which is related to his body. This steadiness of mind is called sthira buddhi. Called what? Or self-intelligence. He is therefore never bewildered by mistaking the gross body for the soul, nor does he accept the body as permanent and disregard the existence of the soul. This knowledge elevates him to the station of knowing the complete science of the absolute truth, namely Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. What is a verse from the Bhagavatam which describes these three categories of the absolute truth? Vadanti tattvavidas tattvam yajganamadvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. If you don't know the verse, you better find it, look it up, and learn it. And a good way to learn it is to write it on a large card. If you have any wall space, you can get some painter's tape so it doesn't stick to the wall permanently. And you can put those up around your room in your living space. And then when you see them every day and you recite them, they'll start to go in your mind. What do you think? You want to try it? Okay. He thus knows his constitutional position perfectly well without falsely trying to become one with the Supreme in all respects. This is called Brahman realization or self-realization. Such steady consciousness is called Krishna consciousness. Let me ask you a question. Is steady consciousness, as described here, also called Krishna consciousness? You would equate the two? You would? Okay. How about, what is it about the devotee? What does a devotee not what mistake does the devotee not make, which helps the devotee to be steady? What is the big mistake that somebody might make? Krishna.
He does not try to become one with the Supreme.
Yes. And what's the other big mistake? Yes?
Identifying the gross body as oneself.
Identifying the gross body as oneself. This is the big mistake. Because if I think that I'm the gross body and I'm not, then I'm misidentifying myself. I'm pretending to be something that I'm not. And that could be troublesome, right? Yeah. So, yes.
I was remembering the analogy that Prabhupada usually gives about the jailer and the inmate in the jail. The inmate in the jail, when even if he gets a little bit of AC or gets a better place to stay, a person who really realizes that, oh, I'm not going to stay here for long, so he's not going to be excited about whether he gets a wonderful bed or AC or whatever, good food and stuff like that. So just trying to connect.
What if he gets a set of Bhagavatams, though? Because I've seen that.
Yes.
I've been in a prison, and I met a devotee who's in prison for life, no possibility of parole. But he's smiling. I said, "Boy, you're smiling." And he goes, "Yeah, people tell me that all the time in here." And then I say, "Yeah, ask me why." But I noticed that as soon as he had a Bhagavatam set in his room and he was chanting 64 rounds a day, he didn't feel in so much anxiety anymore. After all, he's wearing an orange jumpsuit, keeps his head shaved, and very regulated. They have to get up at the exact same time every day. There's no choice about it. So there's a possibility in any situation that one with the right paraphernalia and the right habit patterns, which means to have Krishna's paraphernalia, be surrounded by Krishna's paraphernalia, and to become attached to hearing and chanting. So I saw one, I've seen, many brahmacharya ashrams very simple. They just, have a simple place. Actually, many homes very simple. They don't need a lot of accoutrements, but one thing is the Bhagavatam isn't there. It can be a big fancy house. You can look in Architectural Digest and see many fancy houses. But I guarantee you, if you live in those, it's just another house. It doesn't matter big or small. If the Bhagavatam isn't in the house, big or small, then it's a place of anxiety. And if the Bhagavatam is in the house and the devotees are reading it, then big or small, devotees, the people inside are going to be happy. It's the choice of habits and the vibration that transforms a place and makes it either miserable or happy. You can go on vacation in the most beautiful place in the world, but if you don't have some sadhana when you're there, or you don't have an opportunity to associate with devotees or do some service, then it's actually a suffering condition, even more than being in a hellish place, because you keep thinking, I should be able to enjoy here. Why can't I? So the secret of life is to dedicate one's senses to please Krishna's senses. And in every situation, to organize the environment so that one can be a servant of Krishna and one can keep the vibration going constantly. Do you agree with this assessment in part or in whole? Yes. Thank you. Let's take a 2-minute break. You can stand up and stretch because we're going to be here for a little while more. Stand up and stretch. Share a realization with a friend, and we'll be right back. Hare Krishna.
I have the adapter which has both HDMI. Huh? One laptop. We present from one laptop. Two laptops.